HIV. This panel is presented by the National HIV Aging and Advocacy Network, or NHAAN, an initiative of NMAC's 50 Plus Strong and Healthy program. NHAAN proudly supports the CDC's Let's Stop HIV Together campaign, a national effort that is part of the Ending the HIV Epidemic initiative and the National HIV/AIDS strategy. This campaign empowers communities, partners, and healthcare providers to reduce HIV stigma and increase access to testing, prevention, and treatment. I'm Kyra Kincaid, and I'm honored to guide tonight's discussion, which uplifts the experiences, wisdom, and resilience of men aging with HIV. For too long, stories from Black and brown gay men, heterosexual men, and long-term survivors have been underrepresented. Tonight, we reclaim that space for healing and connection. Tonight, you'll hear from our amazing NHAAN members who've turned their diagnosis into strength and are helping build supportive, healing communities across the country. Let's meet our panelists. I'll briefly introduce each of them and then ask each one to share what aging with HIV means to them right now. George Gregory Curtis, health screener, educator, and peer navigator at the Pride Center of Maryland. Can you tell me what it means to you?
Yes. Hello. Hi, Kyra. How you doing? Hello, everybody. My name is Gregory Curtis. I am a peer navigator, health screener for the Pride Center of Maryland. So aging with HIV means for me is about showing up. For me, it's about speaking up. It's about not being quiet for the things that I was so quiet for so long. And it's about, breaking some of the generational silence that was passed along for so long.
Right. Well, thank you for that, Mr. Curtis. Next, we have Daniel Garza. We're going to come right back to you, Ms. Curtis. Daniel G. Garza, who's the Advocacy Director at Cheeky Charity. Mr. Garza, what does it mean to you?
Hi, everybody. Hola a todos. Daniel G. Garza from Laguna Beach, California. Aging with HIV. I think for me, it means facing or confronting or attacking, however you want to say it. Aging with HIV and aging, period. It's not just about facing what HIV brings and the barriers that it has for me, but also what it is just to be aging and confronting those issues and overcoming them and trying to be as optimistic as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, it looks like they still have you out in front, Mr. Gregory. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to ask your question. Let's start by going deeper into the personal experiences that shape your work today. Okay, now I think I got Daniel Garza. Okay. So you've already answered your question, Daniel Garza. The next person is Larry Bryant Jr., a senior program manager at the Reunion Project. Can you tell me what aging with HIV means to you right now?
First of all, good afternoon, Kyra. It's always amazing to see and hear you. Happy you could be here with us today. Survival to me, survival is what that means. Being here today wasn't when I was first diagnosed almost 40 years ago, was not a given. The fact that I'm still here, that I'm still breathing, my heart still beating, that I am privileged to share space and time with all of you beautiful people, just being alive. I'm just going to keep it simple. I'm alive and I'm happy to be here.
Well, we're happy that you're here as well. Thank you for sharing the space with us tonight. Next, we have Jeffrey Haskins, Deputy Director of Project Teach at Philadelphia Fight.
Hello, Tyra.
Hi, Jeffrey.
How are you?
How
Um,
wonderful.
Great to work with you in the LGBTQIA6 man. And we've had many conversations, but I really need to say that at 70 years old, HIV and aging, what it means to me, it means that I'm going through holy hell. And by that, I preference it with no one was there before me to tell me how to age with HIV. And so I am struggling with body changes. I'm struggling with mental issues around being older and what do I do now? And have to reformulate myself. And then my comorbidities, the heart, the different other organs. Nobody told me I was going to get slapped upside my head, but I am going to be a fighter and fight with it and come up with some principles for others to do better.
Thank you so much, Mr. Haskins.
You're welcome.
And all of the rest of the panelists. It's lovely to be here with people who are all pretty much experiencing the same things. However, it's time to start going a little deeper into the personal experiences that shaped your work today. We're back with Mr. Gregory Curtis. Gregory, your work centers on healing across generations, and you've spoken about the importance of not passing down the pain that was inherited. Can you share what breaking generational silence looks like in your life today? And how do you support others on that journey through the empowerment circle?
Yes, thank you, Kyra. So, yeah, again, so I think what's important is, like I mentioned earlier, is about not keeping quiet. I kept too quiet for too long through the pain of the shame, the homophobia, the untreated trauma. I feel like I grew up, in a space where emotions weren't often discussed, especially for Black boys. But today I challenge that silence by being open about my journey, actually participating, in this discussion here. For so long I was quiet, and opening up about my journey about being gay, being a Black gay man, aging with HIV, as well as being in long-term recovery. So at my work at the Price Center, Maryland, as a peer navigator and health screener, I meet a lot of people that are in their most vulnerable moments, whether it's them getting tested for the first time or being recently diagnosed. I see how silence still exists around HIV and substance abuse. So through my support group that I facilitate and that I created I was so, privileged to be able to start this support group. And I try to create spaces where we can talk about openly, without shame, about what they're carrying. We try to focus on the emotional healing, relapse prevention, and reclaiming personal power. It's just not a support group. It's just not therapy. It's really transformational.
Yes, it is. Wonderful. Now, next, we're going to move on to Daniel Garza. Daniel, you often speak about how aging with HIV is layered with personal and political stressors, from relationship loss to COVID-19 to survivor's guilt. What emotional barriers have you had to confront? And how have you begun to release them?
Wow, how much time do we have? We can go way back. Uh, there's
Let's
so
see if they
many,
get it all wrapped up into about
right? Let's do this in 3 minutes. a- a- as a Latino, as a Catholic, as an immigrant, there's so much barriers that are put on there, not necessarily by me, but generational. My parents, the way that they thought, the way that they acted, the way that they were treated. But I'm going to tell you that I think the biggest barrier that happened to me and that I'm still trying to fight was when I was diagnosed in September of 2000. I was originally diagnosed with AIDS. And back in 2000 in Houston, Texas, your paperwork immediately said disability because I was 120, I was 110 pounds, 108 T cells, so I couldn't work. And I think the biggest barrier that has happened in my life was getting rid of that title of disability. Because as I started getting better and healthier and growing and being part of the community and being out there, I still felt like I had that label on my forehead. Nobody else could see it but me. And when I went off disability after 19 years, when I think that I could have gone off so much sooner, but nobody ever said, hey, you're better now. Go do something positive in life. Go be an active participant. People just kept treating me like what the paper said, disabled. And after 19 years, it's engraved on you. It's one of the longest relationships I've ever had. It was with disability. So now, from 2019 to now, I have been slowly through therapy, through working with the community more, being out there. Some people call it workaholic. Uh, I tend to agree, but I think it's mostly my ongoing therapy. I keep trying to overcome that title that maybe other people don't see it, but I still have it in my head. So I would say that the biggest barrier to date is overcoming the disability uh, title that somebody gave me and that I still haven't quite let go. Thank you.
Thank you. I understand exactly what you're saying. That word AIDS follows you through your journey. And it brings more money to the clinics that are serving you as well. And that's something that they don't tell you. And you have to dig and be part of this system in order for you to find out. But you're worth more with those 4 letters behind your name. Larry, let's move on to you.
Yes, ma'am.
You were diagnosed in 1986, a time when HIV conversations were rare and filled with stigma. What was it like navigating HIV in silence? And how did that shape how you build trust and community today?
Wow. So in 1986, I was a college freshman at Norfolk State University. So wasn't exactly the ideal space time to share anything about my HIV status. In fact, even before then, as a teenager, early teen, I was essentially living with depression and anxiety, and I didn't know it yet. I had like challenges just managing, my mental health through high school. So when I was an All-American playing football, it was encouraged by my coaches and guidance counselor and, the adults in my life that I should keep that, you know, down, like keep that literally off the table when recruiters came to talk to me because like literally they didn't want to think I was crazy and people were thought I was like they didn't know how to take me. I didn't fit whatever they needed me to fit. So that's with mental health. So learning my HIV status was almost by accident. And it was like learning the worst secret I could ever have, like the world was going to end. And I couldn't tell anyone. I think the year I was diagnosed, or around the time I was diagnosed, there were two brothers in Florida who one was diagnosed, I think, through a transfusion. And the community, their neighbors, welcomed them home by burning down their house because they didn't want someone living with HIV in their community. They didn't know which brother, so they just burnt the house down and made the move. Um, Needless to say, to share my status as a heterosexual Black 17, 18-year-old at a historically Black university in the mid 80s and expect to go like have a regular school life, keep playing football. I had a shot at the time to go pro. Um, I literally felt as if the my world was going to end. And the doctor told me when I was diagnosed that I had about 6 or 7 years to live. So um, there was a lot of things going through my head at the time, and it, it there was a lot of challenges with just having trust, building trust. To who could I talk to? I tried in my life a few times before finally going home. I just left college and went home, and almost literally started my life over. To Daniel's point, yeah, there's like so much. I'm thinking of so much more within. I know I'm kind of skipping around, but it's just amazing that moment of disconnect, that moment where I thought I was literally being unplugged from my life with my diagnosis and my reaction to it, was kind of how I found the plug to reconnect to the community that has essentially saved my life. And continues to teach me how to keep saving my life and to save others. Um, so it's the human connection has been always huge. It helps with both my HIV diagnosis as well as my mental health diagnosis. And the more I'm connecting, the more I'm learning, and the more I'm learning, hopefully, the more I'm sharing with someone else that can avoid some of those direct targets that I felt like I kind of fell right on toward multiple times in my life. So thank you.
Wow. Larry, I thought I knew you. I mean, you're talking about a time back in 1986.
Mm.
So, you know, that for the normal person, these days, they can't even fathom that idea of what it was back then. And the fact that you were an athlete and it wasn't okay to share your story back then. And the strength it took for you to survive as long as you have. My hat go off to
I'll,
everyone,
I'll,
to all of you.
yeah, I'll say more later. It was 1991 when Magic Johnson was diagnosed, and that was, I think, the first time I saw someone with that similar background, I guess, is mine diagnosed. But there were so many people, the Queens in the Tidewater area, the gay community in the Tidewater area literally picked me up off the street and saved me multiple times. So long before Magic Johnson, long before there was quote unquote someone that looked like me, there were people who just saw me in trouble and wanted to help. And I'm again forever grateful for that.
Wonderful. Next, we're going to move on to Jeff. Mr. Jeffrey,
Yeah.
looking back, what do you wish someone had told you about aging with HIV? And what do you want the next generation to understand now?
If all that was possible, because I am one of the pioneer generations of HIV and AIDS. And by that, I mean that many of us on this call who deal with NHAAN and MAC and, National People Positive 50 plus, and those who are lifetime survivors, who've had, some of them younger than me, have had AIDS longer than I have. And so when I got this question, I was like, they ain't nobody. who could tell me about HIV and AIDS. And so with knowing that we are the first generation and that we are going to be 70% of the HIV and aging population in 2030, when we're supposed to end this epidemic, that we who are those pioneers, those first who got HIV or who got the AIDS diagnosis, that is still on our records, as Larry says, across his forehead. But I know on my record, it still says AIDS. And as I'm living well, undetectable, and thriving through some possible, aging challenge that come with aging, I still think I have a message to the younger generation. And that message is very clearly, just listen to our story. You don't have to go through what we went through. Why would we go through it? Because we're the first generation. We're the pioneers. We're the ones where it began with in 1981. And we're still here. And so what I would tell that generation is that you need to find your resilience, how you bounce back. Someone told me I was resilient in New York when I started working for the Minority Task Force on AIDS in Harlem. And I didn't know what resilience meant. And so I said to them, what is resilience? And they said, well, when you get, punched, you bounce back. And so that resilience has kept me going and trying to wake up, just like Larry said, every day living the best life I can. And the one thing about what we can do for the young people, we have to mentor them. I, in this AIDS industry, was mentored by people like Ronald Johnson and Cornelius Baker and Jesse Milan from AIDS Watch. And then the thing I have to do is give back to the next generation so that they can fulfill the promise of finding the cure for HIV. And so if it's not in my lifetime, then hopefully it will be in their lifetime. But it will happen. I believe that. And I give them a message of hope. Hope in your community, work together, make your movement as we did, and watch how the world changes.
Wow. Thank you, Jeffrey.
You're welcome.
A lot of the things that you said, I can remember feeling those things when I found out my diagnosis. So, yeah, thank you for that. I can't believe we're doing actually wonderful on time. But let's shift the focus right now to healing that goes beyond medicine. Gregory, now I want to ask you, as a Black man who's aging with HIV and in long-term recovery now, what's missing from the conversation? And how can we create more healing-centered spaces for men?
Thank you, Kyra. Well, I think what's missing is maybe more culturally relevant healing spaces, that honor both our resilience and our pain. I feel that we need spaces where we're just not surviving HIV. I think spaces to where we're learning to live fully with joy and dignity, self-worth. So that's what I'm trying to build is a space like this, through my empowerment circle, where I try to integrate these things together: the HIV education, the substance abuse recovery, and mental illness all together. So that's what I try to do, every day.
That's a wonderful thing because, especially in Black men, we were raised to not even, acknowledge that we had feelings, whether it's from being physically hurt or to, feeling heartbreak or whatever, but giving yourself that, that moment to realize that you're human,
Mhm.
you know, that's so important. So you can learn how to deal with all of these emotions that we go through and feel. Now I want to move on. Thank you, Gregory. I appreciate it. I appreciate you. Daniel, we're back with you right now. Survivor's guilt is something many long-term HIV survivors carry silently. What helped you recognize you were carrying that way? And what message do you have for others who may be silently struggling too?
Yeah, thank you for that question. Heavy question. Uh, when I was first diagnosed in 2000, and again, for everybody, this is my journey and the way that I've lived it. And as I said in the chat room, um, I did what I could with what I had and the best way that I could move forward. But in those early years in 2000 in Houston, after I was diagnosed, let me just clarify. I moved to South Texas first, and there wasn't a whole lot of people that I could connect to or mentors within the community that could help me navigate the hey, you almost died of AIDS complications, but you're here, and let's celebrate that. It was the Catholic guilt first of all, and if you're Catholic, you understand it. It was the you're gay, you're living with HIV, so you're basically a walking book of sins, and everybody just throws that on you. Um, so first off, feeling guilty because I put my family in this position, which for maybe some of you, it's not about you living with HIV or AIDS. It's about how is my family going to react? How is the extended family going to think? Who's going to like me? Who's going to love me? So that's the first level of guilt that I carried around. What are they going to say about my parents? And then when I moved back to Houston and I was part of a bigger community, I started to connect with those mentors and the people that were like, hey, come to this group, come to the support group, come to this breakfast, come to luncheon. And you start connecting and you start realizing that, like some of the folks, some of my colleagues here on the panel have lived with it for a long time. And then you go back to that breakfast and you're like, where is this person? What happened to this person? And then you go back and well, they're not coming back anymore. And I think for a moment you start to think that maybe you're invincible and that they weren't. And this is my story. Like, did I come to take their place? Like, did my presence do this? Um, why why them? They were so healthy. And then, and the universe, life, God, whomever you believe in, has such a sense of humor. It's usually that person you're like they're thriving, they have a family, they're doing well. When I was first diagnosed, I was in my addiction. I was an alcoholic, a drug addict. I had no prospects in life. And I was like, why not me? I have nothing to lose. And then you keep moving forward and people start calling on you and you start being part of the community. And you keep looking back going, okay, I can't bring you with me physically, but I'll bring your essence with me spiritually. And in the name of you, fill in the blank, I will continue to do the work. And then 18 years ago, I sobered up and I got clean and I really started to take acknowledgement of what life was and how important it was. And then I lost brothers in addiction, and I'm also an anal cancer survivor. I've lost brothers and sisters in cancer, and I'm not gonna lie, and I'm not gonna cry, so don't make me cry right now. But um, it's hard to think why why me with all the harm that I've done in my life, why me? And then at a certain moment, I had to seek religious uh, mentoring and talk to God again. And I had to connect to God. And I was like, God, where have you been when all these things happened? And God's like, I was here. Where were you? Like, welcome back. And um, my religious mentors, my therapy have taught me that the best way for me to work through that guilt is, again, I talk about being a workaholic. It's about doing the best that I can in the community. But I've also have to learn, I haven't learned it yet. I have to learn when to step back and also celebrate me, because that also helps let go of the guilt. Is being able to celebrate me and celebrate the people that aren't here anymore, and learning that that can coexist and that it's not against each other. I hope that made sense. Thank you.
Makes perfect sense to me. You know, we all have survived in the face. Everybody that is on this panel have survived this. We're still here. We're still part of the plight to end this, you know, and it's real. It is real. And we've gone through our own struggles. But next we're gonna move on to Mr. Larry. So thank you, Daniel. I appreciate you. Larry, you've emphasized the importance of creating spaces for heterosexual men Asian with HIV. What support is missing, and how do we bridge the gap across generations?
Intergenerational learning. I will say this to answer the question and to kind of bridge and a comment to Daniel's answer and the previous question, actually. Survival is a powerful drug,
Mm.
right? What we will do to survive, just survive. What we need to do for each other to survive, the depths we would go, and sometimes obviously survival doesn't look the same for everyone. But to think, we're going through our lives and HIV is this massive truck that just pounds us when we're not expecting it. And we have to get up from that collision and then find our keys. Do we have on glasses? Where's my shoe? Where's my life? Where's my memory? Like, that's the trauma response. And there's a lot of us, men, women, young people, older, who are still kind of trying to find their shit after being a part of that collision. And so I think it's important that we create spaces first that are ready to receive those who have been either a victim of or a witness to trauma. We need to, we're talking about men, and we all know that a lot of us ain't good at talking about our feelings. A lot of us ain't good at talking, period, about what we think about our opinions on things. And there's a lot of reasons for that. Sometimes we just don't have the words yet. Sometimes we get physically attacked when we do say what we need to say. We get fired. We need to have all of these things in mind when we create these spaces. I know the Reunion Project, we had a men's panel about a year ago featuring men living with HIV. There are other spaces. I wrote down a few names here, people who I see as both peers and mentors and colleagues in this: Richard Atkins, Greg Fordham, William Francis, Derek Robinson. If you know those names, give them some love. If you don't know those names, find them, reach out to them. NHAAN has a men's group for heterosexual men living with HIV that meets monthly as well. These are spaces we want to provide a platform for listening, for learning, but most of all for connecting, coming to just with whatever you have, however you need it, and And that's it. I think that should be the pattern of which we divine outreach on all avenues, on all intersections. Um, and making sure that men receive the same amount of welcome in that. It's just assumed that we don't need that. But I promise you that if he speak and share his experience, um, genuinely, he will. And he'll be grateful for it.
Thank you, Larry. Next, we're going to go over to Mr. Jeffrey. Jeffrey, are you there? I hope
Yeah,
you're still there.
yeah, I'm still here.
A lot shifts as we get older, Jeffrey.
Hmm.
Our bodies, our emotions, even
Hmm.
how we see the world. Jeffrey, how have things changed for you over the years? And what helps you stay grounded through it all?
I think the first thing, as we have talked on this about people with survivor's guilt and other things of that, I think the losses, and Larry spoke to it, to the trauma. Um, I think I have not, and over the years, processed so much of it as I was working full time. As Daniel says, the those of us that work over and over and over, um, none of the feelings sort of came up to the surface. This year at 70, they all came up to the surface. And so they all want attention and they all want me to sort of be with them right now, and heal the pain, heal the pain and heal the suffering. That, working in this field for 33 years and living with HIV for 31, it has become my partner. And it's good to say I am living with HIV. HIV is not living with me. But the reality is that there is a focus, a daily focus, not just in the body. The body signs are the normal aging signs. We just age faster than others. And so what I'm complaining about in the 70s, my friends in their 80s who are not HIV positive are complaining about. So we're having the same conversations about that. And then you asked me something about what gets me through it. And I know my faith, whether it comes from the Eastern Shore or the Western Shore, has been there and has been the catalyst of me moving forward. It's the catalyst of me waking up every morning and swinging them feet over that bed,
Okay.
and standing up and saying thank you. And that, whether I meditate or whether I do mindfulness, um, and I live in a hostile world right now. And so, my psyche needs some attention or some healing grace from all the hostility of what's going on, you know? So I can't watch too much television, take it in, because that's going to upset me. I can't, do some of the things I used to do. So now there's a whole new attitude of how do you live this life and how do you live it well?
Yes. Yes. Um, we still got a little time, and I was dared to ask you about your thoughts about the 2030 plan.
The who?
The 2030 plan.
Oh, that one. Okay.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no, don't, I didn't want you to do that. Don't get him started.
Do what?
See, Larry's
Don't
more
get-
expert on the 2030 plan than
I'm
No.
just playing with you.
I know. I know. That's
Okay,
why
cool.
I threw it to him.
Wow. Thank you for all of your reflections. Right now, we want to open the floor and hear from our audience. So you can drop a question in the chat or raise your hand. We'll get through as many as we can. Anybody? Do we have any that are already in the chat?
I think Michael has his hand up, Reginald.
Okay. Mr. Michael? We can't hear you, Mr. Michael. You must be muted.
Sorry. I feel so privileged to be number one with all my colleagues. I know so many people on this call, and I respect all of you so much for your journey and your compassion and your integrity and your thoughtfulness. And like all of us, I've been living positively for 41 years, over half my life. And it just brings such joy to have people like all of you participating and sharing your joy, your sorrow, and your compassion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Reginald, if you want to take yourself off of mute.
Oh, good evening, everyone. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
First and foremost, I'd like to commend all of the panelists and thank you for sharing your hope, your strength, and a desire to continue to thrive. My take on things in this life is that I strive every day to be the best I can, despite HIV and AIDS diagnosis. I've been around a long time. When I first got diagnosed back in the day, I was in the trenches with some of the great, like Larry had spoke about, Greg Fordham and the Norfolk crew, and they pulled me up and they gave me the information I needed to survive. And I'm grateful to them, and I'm grateful to y'all because it's each one teaches one. And I was diagnosed with HIV and AIDS while I was using drugs, and I never even knew it. And I got off drugs 30 some years ago. And then 5 years after that, I got diagnosed. So I had been carrying the virus for years without knowing. But once I got my diagnosis, I was released to an arena of pioneers like Jeffrey uses. And that is an outstanding acronym to use because we're all seen as pioneers in our journeys. It's what we take from our journey and give to others that make us successful in the journey. And I appreciate, the 50 plus cohort. I love NMAC and I love all the information that we all share. And may each and every one of y'all continue to walk in your grace. Thank you.
Thank you, Reginald. Miss Penn, I'm not going to attempt that first name, but if you come off of mute.
Hi, it's pronounced Nikayla.
Okay, Nikayla.
I want to say to the panelists, thank you for sharing a part of yourself with us. I have a question for Larry, if I may ask.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you say you was diagnosed in the 80s. As a
Yes.
heterosexual person, how did you get through the discrimination of people assuming your sexuality as being gay? How did you maneuver that, where, even with healthcare back then?
Oh, with healthcare. Oh, that's interesting. Well, first of all, the quote unquote assumptions are always out there. They're still out there. I just stopped fighting them. And I just learned to be me instead of being straight, just be me, and people will figure it out. And when I started learning to do like health education, when I started volunteering, doing like HIV 101 to young people or to anyone in the workplace, I would finish with this kind of story of like my experience growing up, and it would always be this, well, I am living with HIV. And then everyone would be like, what? What? How you don't look like how what is it supposed to look like? You know, it's not it's unprotected sex, period, not unprotected sex with certain people or certain sexuality or certain gender. So just being myself and not being outraged about it or standoffish about it. I think I just learned to like just gently correct people when I can. When I do, let it be educational if it needs to be. It's if there is the bias there, it's coming from the other person. I don't want to contribute to that. But more of us heterosexual men can be better allies when it comes to dispelling a lot of these myths and discrimination and all of these different things that are challenging the truths.
Okay, thank you. I have one in the one question in the actual chat. It's asking, well, I have more than one, but this one kind of stuck out to me. How has dating or personal relationships been for anyone on the panel? Anybody want to take a look at that one?
I'm single, so not me.
I don't mean you ain't having sex.
Oh.
Well, I've been in a relationship now for 13 years. In fact, May 9th was 13 years that we've been together. When we met, uh, I was on the, we went, okay, so we met on OkCupid. We met online. And for anybody who's been online on any of those, there's always the HIV positive, HIV negative, ask me. And I always said, ask me. I always wanted people to ask me. And I'm like, well, if they Google me, they'll know who I am because I've been around for a little bit in the community. But all of a sudden, I felt like a hypocrite, and I changed it to yes. And that's when my partner and I met. And I was so lucky that by the time we met, he was already aware of what HIV was. He knew the basics. He knew the 101s, which was such a relief because it wasn't that for anybody who's dated, you have dinner, you have the appetizer, you have the dinner, and then right before dessert, you're like, hey, I have something to tell you. And then you never get to dessert, which really sucks. But our first date was so not awkward. I didn't have to have the conversation. He already knew that I was living with HIV. We skipped all that. And then once we got a little more uh, intimate mentally, and we wanted to get intimate physically, then we got into the conversation because this is before it was you and prep. And so we were able to sit and talk and say, okay, this is where I feel comfortable. This is where you feel comfortable. And here we are 13 years later. And he hasn't run yet. So something's working. So there you go.
I like how he slid in there in the beginning, like Google me. You'll figure me out. Just go Google me. You'll learn about me. So I've been married since 2021. Didn't think that would ever be possible. So I'm fortunate with that, and I encourage um, whether it's marriage, whether it's just having an intimate partner, feel free with yourself, whoever you are, wherever you are.
Wow, so it is possible. See, we got two good responses from that. Mr. Jack, let's go ahead and do you, and before we move on to the next portion, if you come off of mute, Mr. Jack.
Hi everyone. Thank you so much for definitely encouraging me and giving me the information and encouragement that I need to survive and thrive, living with HIV. And I have a fun fact for Larry. I had met Magic Johnson when he was first diagnosed at the UN in New York City. And so I am hoping that Dree or someone at NMAC will have me come speak to him because he probably don't even remember when I met him. It was She Poops with Magic at the United Nations. in New York City, and I have the photos to prove it. And he probably don't remember the photos. So it would be such a wonderful experience to meet him, to see that I am still alive. I don't know about the other two people that was with me at the time, if they're still alive, but I'm still here, still thriving, and still surviving. So I would hope that NMAC throw that in there to Magic to let him know that, yeah, I was one of those that met you at the UN.
Yes,
And we were
Tequila
shooting.
is still alive.
Okay. So my
And so
question
is he.
is,
I'll take
okay,
that selfie on behalf of my friends.
okay.
Yes.
So my question is to Jeffrey and Daniel. Um, Being gay and gray, I guess I could say that. Going forward, do you see yourself retiring in one of like the gay retirement meccas or moving forward like Wilton Manors or Palm Springs? Because you're still living, you're still thriving, and a lot of gay men are moving in those directions. So, where do you see yourself as you retire?
Well, I'm going to chase Daniel and relocate to California. So I do see my future as I've been planning that for the next year. And so retirement is real, but so is Social Security. And there are kind of things and battles you have with them around retirement funding and other things. So I'll speak on it and let Daniel finish what he's going to say.
Sure. Retirement. Can you say that in Spanish? Because I don't seem to understand the word. How do you use it in a sentence? No. I don't know about retirement. I think I'm going to be one of those people that I'm still going to be in my walker or my cane or my little scooter and talking. As you can tell, I'm not shy, so I'm. In all honesty, I live in Laguna Beach, so I live in a really cool place where as long as I can live there, I live next to the beach. I'm comfortable. As far as retirement from work, I hope that I can continue. I'm 54, maybe another 30 years of me. I mean, people still want me. Uh, I want to keep working. I don't think about retirement if because
I,
I'm an advocate, I'm a life coach, I'm an actor. I hope that there's always something for me to do and not retire. And as long as there's some breath and God and the universe open doors, I'm walking through. So uh, no retirement yet, just not yet. But I'm gonna stay in Laguna if I can. Come visit
I,
everybody. Bring tacos.
I agree, Daniel. I'm not trying to retire. I don't see myself retiring. I'm gonna be doing this till the day I close my eyes and go on the grave. You know, it's not gonna stop.
Kyra,
I love it so much.
did you see Wanda's hand?
Wanda,
You took it down, Wanda? Okay.
did you want to ask the question, Wanda?
Actually, it was kind of make a comment. I wasn't diagnosed until 2002, but the privilege that I had was I started my nursing career in 1981. Um, I live on the East Coast. I live in North Carolina, so patients with AIDS diagnosis were slower to get to us in the hospital. But the shame I put on other people is that a great many nurses would not care for those patients. And I was unafraid, even though I was a single mother with two small children, and would go and take care and very lovingly take care of, it was always men, dying. But when I was diagnosed, I never not told anyone that I was positive. And it was funny. One of them, we were getting ready to, get busy. And I said, I need to tell you. And he got dressed and left, and I never saw him again. Shame on him. But I am 1 year older than you, Jeffrey, almost in August. And I'm getting ready to celebrate my 23rd anniversary in July. And a lot like Daniel, I tell people to look, Google me. I mean, I live out loud. I have no secrets. the good, the bad, the ugly. It doesn't matter. And being a part of this group, the things that NHAAN affords us, the things that NMAC affords us, is such an amazing privilege.
It is. It is. And yeah. I didn't think that I was gonna get old, especially once I got my diagnosis. So, but hey, look at me now. I'm still here and I'm not slowing down. Let's keep doing this. But before we close, guys, we want to be respectful of all of your time. I want to offer each of you the space to leave us with a final thought. What's one truth or message you want people to carry forward from tonight's conversation? And I guess we're just going to go ahead in order. Gregory, do you want to answer that question?
Yes. I want people to know that you can grow old with HIV and still thrive. You still can find joy. You still can build community. You can even start over. You don't have to do it alone. Healing starts when you stop hiding, start connecting, and remind each other that they're worthy, no matter our age, our status, or our past. For me, I'm just not living with HIV. I'm living with intention.
Okay. Next, we have Daniel.
Yeah, something, I guess my last thoughts would be find the balance between what you can change and what you have to accept. And in there, you'll be centered and you can follow the path that's meant for you. We all have a different story. And as we saw in the conversations and in the chats, we have a different history, we have a different story, we have a different background, and we have different endings. So stop looking to your side and see how other people are living. Live your life the best way you possibly can. Because if you can, as you can see with my colleagues here, my fellow panelists, we've all just taken our life in our hands the best way we could and done the best we could with the materials, with the tools, the knowledge, the wisdom, whatever we have. Will it always be pretty? No, but it'll be your story. And in the end, when we talk, or I hope when somebody talks about me, they'll say it wasn't always a pretty life, and maybe he ate too much tacos, but Daniel G. Garza lived life the way that he wanted. And I hope that for you too. So thank you.
Wonderful. Larry?
Too much tacos. Oh man, just find your passion. This is not hard. Whether you work in the field, whether you are, um, just committed, an activist, an advocate, a grassroots warrior, just wrapped up in the cycle of webinars and meetings and conferences and advocacy, and there's a lot. Find your passion, find your peace, nurture it, and then find people that speak that same language and connect with those people once, twice a week. In fact, as soon as you get off this webinar, go text or message, call that person. We're reminded far too late and too, long in our lives, to value our life. And we need to value every moment, every minute, and the relationships we have throughout. Learn, literally learn, live, love yourself and each other.
Thank you, Larry. Jeffrey, you got something you want to leave with the kids?
Yeah, I want to have fun. I want to continue to have fun. The inner child, the kid inside of me wants to run. Like Daniel's at Laguna Beach, I might want to be at Venice Beach.
Okay.
Just run through the water. I want to reclaim some of the happiness and the joy. And only I can do that. And
Yes.
I don't want to just keep it to myself. I want to give it, share it. And I think that's the way we build community. And that's the way we love on one another. And the last thing is just be kind to yourself, because everybody else in the world, they may be harsh right now, but we need to be kind to ourselves and give ourselves a break.
I agree. I agree. I want to say thank you to our panelists, Gregory, Daniel, Larry, and Jeffrey, for your honesty, leadership, and work. And thank you to all of you for joining us tonight. Let's keep building a world where aging with HIV is met with dignity, visibility, and joy. Please don't forget to complete the evaluation for tonight at www.surveymonkey.com. Is that going to be in the?
And thanks to you, Kyra.
We
Thank
put it
you
in the
so
chat.
much.
You know,
Thank
at
you.
Thanks
first,
to you too, Kyra.
I was asked to be part of this panel, and I just thought about it. It was Men's Month, and I'm not a man. I'm not a man. I'm male, but I'm not a man. And I was asked to be the moderator for you guys, and I was like, I love my men. Yes,
You're
yes,
one personified.
yes. And you know, I mean, who better to do it than me?
Yes.
I love
No
you
one.
guys.
No one
I love
better.
the
No
work
one.
that you do. You know, I mean, just continue being great. But please don't forget to fill out that Survey Monkey link. They put it in the chat.
Yes.
And thank you. And please have a good evening. We want to respect your time. We've been on here for a little minute. So I know you guys have something to do. So good night. We love you.
Love you. Bye.
Good night. Good night.
Good night.
Mhm.